The last law of prosperity is the law of sacrifice. And the law of sacrifice basically states, in order to get or to gain, something of equal value must be lost. So if you're wanting to be prosperous, you've got to let go of something. And that's something that you've got to let go of first is your experience and your thought patterns around poverty, around lack and limitation. Because prosperity and poverty cannot occupy the same space. You can't have both at the same time. You've got to choose one. There's a law of physics that states that two things cannot exist in the same space at the same time. And this applies to your experience with prosperity. Prosperity first needs to exist in your mind, but it can't exist there if your mind is filled with lack and limitation. If your mind is filled with thoughts that there's not enough, you've got to choose one, and your choice determines the life you're going to live. So if you're wanting to experience that millionaire life, if you're wanting to experience that life of enough, if you want to experience the life of freedom, then you've got to choose it. You've got to then begin to release the life of bondage. You've got to release the life of lack and limitation. You've got to release the life of poverty. And you've got to allow prosperity to take over. But prosperity cannot exist in your life. It cannot be in every space of your reality if you have filled your reality with poverty. This is the law of polarity. You can't fill your thoughts with poverty, lack, and limitation and expect prosperity. You can't fill your mind with there's not enough, I'll never have enough, it's too hard, and experience I have more than I need. I am always living in abundance. You've got to choose one, and your choice determines your experience. And you've got to make way for prosperity to begin to bleed out all over your life. Look at your circle of influence. Are these people supporting your place for prosperity, or are they hindering your experience of prosperity? You know, I tell people all the time, look at your closest friends, the 5 closest friends you have. How is their experience with prosperity? Because their experience with prosperity, the average of them equals your experience. Now, most of you, that doesn't look great. You don't like that. Well, that means you've got to begin to change your circle of influence. Some of those people need to go, and then some new people need to come in. But you can't bring new people in if you don't let go of the people that already exist that aren't serving you. You've got to make space for that. You've got to be willing to give something of value to get something of value. So let go of that. Make room in your life for prosperity. Clean your house. Clean your car. Prosperity equals love, abundance, freedom, well-being. Make a space for freedom and well-being in your life, and you'll begin to experience freedom and well-being in your life. Give up lack and limitation and welcome prosperity, and you will begin to be prosperous. It is law. When I made the decision that I was going to be prosperous, no matter what, that I was going to live financially free, that I was going to have a sense of well-being and peace in my sense of finances, in my health, in my relationships, and in my life, I remember the first thing I had to do was to look at the people around me and to decide who was supporting me and who was deplenishing me. And as I began to look at the 5 closest people in my life, there were some people there that were not nourishing my desire for prosperity. They were draining me. You know, Les Brown has a statement that there are some people so negative that if you left them in a dark room for too long, they begin to develop. And these were those type of people. And so I had to look at the type of people in my life. Were they supporting me and nourishing me, or were they not? And the ones that were not, I had to let go of. Now, that was one of the hardest things I've had to do in my life. But what made it possible for me was my dream for prosperity was non-negotiable. I was tired of it being optional. I removed the option of succeeding off of the table, and I made it non-negotiable. And I released those people. And I began to look for the people that would support me on all levels of my desire for prosperity. And when I began to do that, I began to have different types of conversations. I began to have different types of interactions and go to different types of places. And my life slowly and surely began to be the picture of that prosperous person that I desired. And the next thing that I did was I made room for prosperity in my personal life. I cleaned out my closet. All the things in my closet that I didn't love, the clothes that didn't make me feel healthy, wealthy, and wise, I removed. And I began to eat the type of foods that I believed I would eat when I was prosperous. I stopped buying in the bargain bin, and I stopped looking for sales, and I just bought what I wanted when I wanted. And I made the space for prosperity to exist in my life. And when the prosperity space existed, prosperity showed up and it showed out. It bled out all over my life. It seemed like everything I touched became gold. Everywhere I went, I experienced opportunities to make more money, and my life began to be free, and I experienced peace and well-being in every area of my life. So the law of sacrifice states that you must give up something to gain something. So what are you willing to give up to achieve that desired state of prosperity that you desire? How important is prosperity for you? Because if it is, you'll be willing to do what it takes and to achieve what you desire.